Hi everyone, welcome to Maximum Attack Rallying. It is Monday, if you're watching this on Monday anyway. It is rally week and it is time for the final tarmac WRC round of 2026, which is a bit weird because it's only May. Japan has, of course, Rally Japan has moved from its traditional slot near the end of the calendar to this new position. I'm not really sure how I feel about that. I think I really liked the character of Japan at the end of the year, with all of the leaves in lovely oranges and browns, and I think rallies have a character, don't they? You couldn't move Rally Sweden into the summer. You couldn't move Rally Monte Carlo into the summer, could you? So it's a little bit of a shame that Japan has been moved, and it's also a bit of a shame that we've got this big imbalance in the calendar, that we're not even halfway through the year, and we're done completely with tarmac, and it is now all gravel for the rest of the season. That for me isn't quite how it should be. I would like to see a bit more of a mix through the year. Anyway, let's not talk about that. Let us talk about Rally Japan itself. That's what we're here for, isn't it? So the action kicks off on Friday. We have shakedown on Thursday. 302.8 kilometres of stages I think there is in total. That is across 20 special stages. Friday does look a little bit different, I think, to 2025, but there are just 3 loops of stages. So you've got Asuki, which is 12.9 kilometres, Isugumi's Tunnel, which is obviously the really iconic one, 24.29 kilometres, and then Inabu at 17.08 kilometres. Then midday service back at Toyota City, and then those 3 stages are just repeated on Friday afternoon. So that is a very simple one. Saturday is very similar to last year, so you've got 2 loops of 3 stages. So you've got Abara 16.44, sorry, I'm looking down and reading, Aina at 21.16, and Mount Kasagi at 19.32 kilometres. Those 3 run again in the afternoon, but in a slightly different order. So it starts with Mount Kasagi, then you've got Aina and Obara, and then the day ends with 2 passes of the Fujioka Super Special stage. No service on Saturday, however, keep that in mind. There is just a remote tyre service in between the 2 loops of main stages. Sunday, then the last day, 74 kilometres I think there is on Sunday, so it's relatively long compared to some events. Obviously some events are much less than that. You've got Nukata, at 20.49 kilometres, and Lake Mikawako at 13.98 kilometres. They open the day. Then you've got 2 passes for the Kurogaki Super Special. I think that's about 2.5 kilometres. Then you've got a 15-minute service back in Toyota City, and then you've got obviously a repeat of Nukata and Lake Mikawaka, and the latter is, of course, the power stage. So we've got through the itinerary. We do have to talk about the weather, though, don't we? Because the rally moving from winter to summer, or autumn to summer, could make some big changes, couldn't it? Make some really big changes to the conditions. I've had a look at the forecast in a few different locations to try and get a sense of what the weather's going to be doing. Not always easy, and I always find that I get the weather forecast wrong quite a lot, because the problem with rallies is obviously they're spread out over a reasonable area, and the service area, for example, might be on the edge of a city, and then the stages might be in the mountains, and obviously the weather will be very, very different. But temperatures do look like they could be pretty high. I've seen some forecasted temperatures in the high 20s, so it looks like it could be a warm one. Obviously, being Japan and in the spring/summer, it could be very humid indeed too. I've seen some reports of very high humidity. There is rain forecast in the coming days before the rally starts. Obviously, that could also affect the event itself and continue into the event. So it's a little bit early to make concrete predictions, of course, about what the weather is going to be like. But what it does mean is that it won't be easy. So there could be changeable conditions, and that means that it's not necessarily going to be a smooth, simple, dry tarmac event. It could be a wet and tricky one with lots of things to hit. So plenty to look forward to in that respect. Let's move on to the crews then. Leading the field, of course, is Elfyn Evans, because he is leading the championship. Now, he has a good record in Japan. 1 in 2023, 1 in 2024, second last year. He has to be a contender, doesn't he? Has to be. He has to be a contender. He has been a bit up and down this year in terms of speed. I've been a little bit concerned that he hasn't always had the speed to match the guys around him, but he has pulled results, hasn't he? Because, you know, if he hadn't, he wouldn't be leading the championship. The weather is a weird one, isn't it? You know, rain could help him in some respects if the roads did get dirty. Similarly, he's the first one that has to drive through the stages and see what the conditions are like. So it's a tricky one, isn't it? And he's going to come under lots and lots of pressure. You know, behind him, you've got Takamoto Katsuta. He had a disastrous rally last year. He was in the fight for victory and hit a water, you know, barrier container thing. Always goes well at home though, doesn't he? So, you know, while some people still have plenty of doubts about Katsuta, even though he's won a couple of rallies this year, obviously with some luck, this is an event that should favour him, shouldn't it? He should go well here, and I think he will be in amongst it, even if he doesn't win. And I'd like to see him win his home rally. Obviously, he would love to see him win his home rally, but I don't know. Then you've got Sami Pajari, still waiting for that first win, isn't he? Third, I think he was last year in Japan. Had a really good run this year so far, 4 podiums. He's taken a step forward, hasn't he? He's taken a real step forward, and while I think winning this weekend might be difficult, and I think he might need a bit of luck, i.e. some of the others having problems, he could have won rallies this year, and I think he will win at least one rally this year. He is moving forward. Obviously, then we get into a really big hitter. Sitting in 4th is Oliver Solberg, who has had such a mixed year, hasn't he? He has been incredibly fast, but accident prone. That is understandable. You know, he's still developing. I think, you know, this is, you know, it's his first full season in the Toyota Rally 1. He is still young. He still has to grow into this position. So I'm not too worried about it. I have said all along that I don't think he'll win the championship this year. He might prove me wrong, of course, but you know, he's got experience in Japan. He did it last year, didn't he? And I think he was the fastest Rally 2 car last year, so he knows the stages, knows the conditions. He just needs to translate that into the Rally 1 car. He will be in contention, in my view. It's just whether he can have a clean run, isn't it? I think for Solberg. Adrian Formeau is the top-seeded Hyundai, which is seems a bit of a weird one, doesn't it? He's had a mixed season. He needs something, doesn't he, Formeau at the moment? He needs something. Crashed last year, I think, in Japan. He needs to start getting some good results, doesn't he? I think I would perhaps draw a little bit of a similarity between him and Katsuta in that he's showing speed, but the results haven't quite come together yet, have they? And I think, you know, perhaps in a similar way to what I've said about Katsuta is that if he can get that win, if he can get that result, he could then, you know, that could be a major turning point for him, and it could allow him to make a massive, massive step forward. Will it happen this weekend? I'm not so sure. Obviously, we've got this Hyundai thing, haven't we, which I will come on to, but yeah, it's a tricky one for Formeau. Behind him, obviously, we have a massive, massive contender for rally victory. That's Sebastian Ogier. He won last year. Not having the best 2026, though, is he, by his ludicrously high standards. He did win in Canary Islands. He needs to get a good result this weekend if he is to have any hope of fighting for the title. You know, he's not got the results, not had the consistency he had last year that allowed him, you know, to be in the position to make that choice later in the year to say, actually, I'm going to do a couple of extra rallies and fight for that title. He is not there yet. He could be, but he needs a big, big score this weekend for me to really lay down a marker and to get things back on track. On that note, we move on to Thierry Neuville. He did lay down a marker by winning in Portugal. It isn't going to be enough for him to challenge for the Drivers' Championship, in my view, because yes, we've got all gravel rallies, which will help Hyundai, but I think Toyota are still too strong. He's one of the most tenacious drivers, isn't he, in the championship? I think last year he had an absolute nightmare in Japan, didn't he, with lots of car issues. I think if it's wet, he could be a threat for me. I think if it's dry, I think Hyundai will struggle to be on the pace of the Toyotas. Similarly, for Hayden Paddon, I talked about him in a video last week. He's been told to go for it this weekend, to take a bit more risk and to push a bit harder. That, as I said, I'm not going to go into this in too much detail. As I said in the other video, that's a bit of a weird one for me because He's not done the event before, so he doesn't have the same level of experience as the other drivers. And the performance of the Hyundai is definitely uncertain. As I said last week, to me, it very much depends on what kind of rally we get. If we get a wet and slippery rally that's a bit more like Croatia, then yes, Hyundai could be a factor, because obviously Thierry Neuville nearly won in Croatia. If we get a rally that is dry and hot and a bit more like the Canary Islands, then I don't see Hyundai being anywhere. So I think that's a weird one for me, for both him and Neuville. I think it's weather dependent, and that's probably the case for Formel as well, isn't it? For me, I see Toyota dominance this weekend, to be honest with you, but there we are. Let's move on to M Sport quickly though. John Armstrong, he's got no experience in Japan. Obviously, we've seen flashes of speed from Armstrong this year. He has impressed in terms of his performance in that way, but there have been some mistakes. Portugal was obviously not a good event for him. I would just like to see a clean and tidy run from Armstrong at this point. He has shown that he can go fast. What he needs to do at this stage is show that he can get through an event unscathed, because he hasn't been doing that. This is not an event he's familiar with. Yes, he's a good tarmac driver. For me, just get through. Finish all the stages. Don't hit anything. Get to the end. So that is my tip for John Armstrong, and I'm sure he'll listen to me. Josh McAleen, he took a step forward in Portugal, didn't he? Almost at his first fastest stage time, if it hadn't been for a pesky Rally 2 car. Don't think he's got a great record in Japan, though. I think he's been off in his previous outings. But perhaps, again, perhaps it's just like Armstrong. It's not a case of trying to set the world alight. It's just trying to build a bit of momentum. He did take a step in Portugal for me, and maybe he just needs to just build on that a bit. I think this is not an event that is going to favour M Sport. There's a lack of experience there in both the drivers. So I think for me, it's just a get through it and get both cars to the end, which has been something of a struggle this year. Predictions. We have to come to predictions, don't we? I've waffled on about all of the drivers, so we have to talk about who is going to win. Who is going to win? It's so tough to pick. As I said, for me, it's going to be a Toyota podium. I don't see, unless it's wet, I don't see any of the Hyundais challenging. And even if it is, it's so hard to bet against Toyota now, isn't it? And I feel like I do this in every preview, but they are so strong. I'm going to say that Elfyn Evans is going to win this one, because I think a win would do him a lot of good, especially with all of these gravel rallies coming up. If he could win this one and create a bit of a buffer for himself, that would be a massive help with the events that are coming up, because it's going to be really difficult, isn't it, for him to win rallies over the next few months when you've got people like Ogier, who's a bit further down the order, and he's going to keep potentially gnawing away, and even Solberg. If Solberg can get things together a bit and find a bit more consistency. So it's a rally that suits Evans, so I think he's going to win. I think Ogier is going to finish second, because he's obviously he's still brilliant, isn't he? He's arguably still the best all-round driver, even if he's not quite as fast as he probably once was. And then I'm going to put Solberg third, because I think he will. You just can't say that he won't be in the fight, can you? And I think if all those three are on song, they should finish in the top three. Maybe Katsuita's an outsider, maybe even Payari is an outsider. So those are my predictions, but we should move on to WRC 2, shouldn't we? A pretty weak field, to be honest. It's a bit of a shame. I think there's only 11 WRC 2 cars, 12 RC 2 Rally 2 cars in total. Half of those are local, so it's a bit of a shame to not see a big WRC 2 entry, but obviously this is a flyaway event, so it is a big financial commitment, so you can see why they drop it. Nikolai Gryzin, he's leading the field in a Lancia Ypsilon, and I would back him to still be leading the field come Sunday afternoon, to be honest with you. Big threats probably come from Alejandro Cachon and Emil Lindholm, they're second and third, and if I had to bet, I would probably bet that they will finish second and third. I think the starting order is probably going to be the finishing order in WRC 2, certainly with the top three. Robert Jurgensen is there, but he's not registered for WRC 2 points, so he's there to gain experience. Maybe he'll be in amongst it, but obviously that won't impact the WRC 2 championship. As I said, it is a shame, isn't it? It's a shame that the way the points are set up in WRC2 means that that crews drop events, and for me it does undermine the whole system of the championship in a way that you can basically show up to an event that no one else wants to go to and get not a free win. No win is free, but it's, you know, it's an easier win than trying to go to Portugal and win, isn't it? So it's a weird one. I'm just not sure of the best way to fix it, to be honest with you. You can't mandate that everyone does every rally, because, you know, the problem is with these guys, they're privateers and they can't necessarily afford it. So it's very, very difficult, isn't it? You know, in terms of Gryazin, Cashon and Lindholm, you can see why they've got in a way, because provided they don't have any issues, they should come away with really strong points that will be a big help to their championship. So it's a weird one, isn't it? I love WRC2. I love the level of competition. Obviously, I love the cars. I love the number of drivers we tend to have on most events, although not this one. But it's a shame that we have this points scoring, nominating thing, isn't it? That's maybe not working and leaving events like Japan and some of the others a bit short of entries. So bit of a tricky one, isn't it, that? But anyway, I'm going to stop talking because I've made my predictions. Now I'd like you to make yours. So drop yours into the comments below. Let me know who you think is going to win in WRC2 and in the overall rally, of course. I'd love to know what you think. While you're there, maybe you could do me a favour and hit those like and subscribe buttons. And if you can find the hype button, you could even hit that, because I don't know where it is or what it does, but apparently I should ask you to press it. So be very grateful if you could do that. And of course, I'm very grateful for you watching this video, especially if you've watched it to this point. So thank you for that. All that remains for me to say, I think, though, is enjoy the rally, and I will see you next time.